Hey, this is Chuck Green from Dead Rising. You keep watching Kyle Evans. This guy rocks. And don't forget to bring your Zombrex. Come visit me on Instagram. Chuck Green out.
Alrighty, what is going on everyone, and welcome back to another Dead Rising video, where today we will be looking at the mirrors and reflections in Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2 off the record, 3, and 4. So we'll be comparing these mirrors and breaking them down into 3 separate categories. So first we have quality and presentation. That'll be the overall look and how clear the reflection is. We'll have particle accuracy, including things like fire, water and spit, throwables, and others. That'll be things like substitutes if I can't find a specific weapon in another game. And lastly, we have the bullet test, where I'll be shooting the mirror to see if there is a bullet hole in the glass, and I'll also be shooting the wall behind just to see if there is a reflection of that. So without further ado, let's get into Dead Rising 1. As you can see, the quality is a perfect and clear reflection. It's just a one-to-one image of what the actual game is, so 5 out of 5 on quality and presentation. The only problem I have is that when he turns around, he does this little slide instead of moving his feet, but I'm willing to look past that. So now we're on to our second category, which is particle accuracy, where I'm taking a propane tank into the bathroom, as you do. So I place it up against the sink, and when I fire, I realize that you can't see the explosion in the reflection, so I go and get another one. And as I fire it again, I realize I am way too close, making this experiment just a disaster. I did notice, however, that there was blood on the floor, and I decided to check if that was in the reflection, which it was not. I thought that the blood and the paint would react similar in the game's engine, so I threw paint against the wall to see if that would show up in the reflection, and as you can see by the massive mess on the sink and the floor, that didn't show up either. Here we are with the spit test, and as you can see, none of it is showing up in the reflection either. Also, a side note, I didn't realize how angry Frank was when he was spitting, which really took me by surprise. Here I am throwing a cash register because I knew that money would spray out, and that didn't happen. I tried shooting it, and god damn it, finally it broke, and again, the money didn't show up in the reflection. I decided to use the water gun to see if that would react similar to the spit, and as you can see, it doesn't show up in the reflection, but the spray against the zombie does, so it's very inconsistent. Here we are with the bullet test, and as you can see, it shoots right into the glass and it has a little PNG over it. The first test I did was with the handgun, and I was pretty happy with the results, but I decided to do it with the submachine gun, and this is what we got. When it gets too much overlay, you can see that it gets a very dark square around it because the PNGs are just on top of each other. But I think that this is perfectly acceptable. It does look a little bit funky, but I'm willing to look past it. Call me bias. And as you can see, I'm firing into the wooden panel and it's not showing up in the reflection, so that lowers the score a little. We also have some footage provided by Stippo, which is from the ROMRelease or the 0.70 beta, and as you can tell, there is no reflection in this beta. There is this very strange texture. I don't really know how to describe it. It is just static and it is just unpleasant to look at. But thank you so much, Stippo, for providing us with this clip. He also sent me footage from the shop Shukins, which I completely forgot had a mirror in it. And this got me curious about whether or not there was reflections in the Wii port for Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop. So we have a surprise entrant. The footage here wasn't sent to me. It is from the YouTube channel Neo Gamer, the Video Game Archive, so definitely check out their comparison between the Xbox 360 version and the Wii version. But as you can see, there is no mirror in this shop. And you can see when they enter the gym, the mirror has been strangely moved from one wall to the other. And I'm not too sure what the reason for that is, because when they look over here, they can see this big empty space on the wall. And I thought, wasn't there a mirror there in the original game? And to answer that question, yes. Yes, there was. So with my final rating with Dead Rising 1, I am going to give it a 5 in quality. With particle accuracy, I was going to give it a 0 because nothing showed up in the reflection, but the water did spray on the zombie, so I'll give that a 1 out of 5. And for the bullet test, I will give a 4 out of 5, because even though it didn't show up on the bathroom stall, it did show up on the glass itself, and there was the little overlay, but that's to be expected for something like this, especially from a game from 2006. Now we move on to Dead Rising 2 off the record. And as you can tell, quality is just, oh, that's horrible, isn't it? Based on quality alone, I was going to give this a 3 out of 5, but as you can tell, when Frank looks up and down, he kind of bends sideways, so for that, I'm going to have to take it down from a 3 to a 2, because I don't understand why he's turning like this. Here I am again with a propane tank in the bathroom, and when I shot it, I realized that you can't see it, it's way too quick. So I tried the same with the remote mine, and there seems to be a perfect reflection of it. Here I am with the spoiled hamburger throwing it against the wall, and there doesn't seem to be the ketchup splatter in the reflection, but when I am throwing the jewelry, you can see a perfect reflection of that, so that bumps the score up a bit. Here we are with the spit test, where Frank is spitting against the wall, and again, perfect 1-to-1 reflection. Same with the water gun, you can see it splashing against the wall and also on the sink. Here we are with the bullet test, and as you can see, there is no bullet holes in the glass. Here we are shooting the back of the wall, and as you turn around, you can clearly see there is nothing there. So for the bullet test, this gets a 0, unfortunately. So for Dead Rising 2 off the record, we have a 2 out of 5 for quality. For particle accuracy, we'll give a 4 out of 5. It was really good up until the hamburger splatter on the wall, that wasn't in the reflection. And also for the bullet test, unfortunately gets a 0 out of 5. Here we are with Dead Rising 3, a game that I really enjoy personally. However, for mirror quality, unfortunately, there is only one mirror that I could possibly find. In this bathroom, the mirror is cracked. I went into this safe room, and again, the glass is also shattered. Here I am entering the room that was shown in the E3 demo, and no mirror. It wasn't until I entered this safe room and found a mirror that is just not even passable. As you can see, the render distance on it is atrocious. You can't see the fire, so I'll count that for later in the particle accuracy. You can see that the zombie is kind of rendered, but none of the features in the room itself are in the reflection. Here I am trying to do an explosion test, and it's never going to work. Yep, that was way too quick. Yep, even Nick knows how dumb an idea that was. The jewels don't appear in the reflection when I throw them at the mirror, and also the mirror cracked, and I don't think there's a way to get the mirror back to normal without resetting the chapter, so every time I accidentally cracked the mirror, I had to restart the chapter again. Here we are with the water gun, and as you can see, absolutely no reflection. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a spit test for this game because Nick just throws a punch, and I accidentally did it again and cracked the mirror, so I had to go and restart the chapter. As you can see with the Molotov cocktail and the zombie from earlier, there is no reflection of the fire. Here we are with the bullet test, and as you can see, it does have bullets in it, so I guess that's good. It kind of bumps it up a little bit. I didn't even bother with the bullet test on the wall because the render distance is just so poor, I knew that it wouldn't show up. The quality itself is quite good, but the render distance is just so poor that it really lowers the score, and I'm gonna have to give it a 3. For particle accuracy, I'm gonna have to give it a 0. There was just no reflection, there was no water, there was no fire, there was just nothing. And finally, for the bullet test, I will have to give it a 4, because even though there was bullet holes in the mirror itself, it did unfortunately get let down by the poor render distance. And finally, Dead Rising 4, which has the potential to be the underdog for this episode. Here we are with the quality test, which admittedly is not great, and also Frank only turns for every 45 degrees that he looks, which is a bit strange. I don't know whether or not I prefer this or the static turn that he does in the previous game, so let me know in the comments which ones you prefer. He also doesn't appear to look up or down, so that kind of takes the points away a little bit. This is also the first game to have a selfie feature, which really took me by surprise with the attention to detail that it had. He's actually turning the camera side to side and up and down, which he wasn't doing in the normal camera mode. But something that really surprised me with the attention to detail is you can see that when Frank is changing facial expressions, he's actually doing the same in the mirror. I was not expecting this. This is an attention to detail that is just bizarre in this game, which is notorious for missing so much, including this reflection. I found this mirror in the same bathroom, and it has the reflection of the room itself, but just not Frank, which, you know, is kind of the most important part of the reflection. Here we are testing out the particle effects, this time with the pummel blast, and it is a perfect 1-to-1 reflection of the game itself. Here we are with the fire grenade, and if the flame is too far away from the mirror, it just won't pick it up, whereas if you throw it a little bit closer, it does show up, which is, again, very on brand for Dead Rising 4. So in Dead Rising 4 you can't spit and there are no water guns, so I had to find the next best substitute, which was the household cleaner. And finally we're on to the bullet test, where as you can see there are no bullet holes in the mirror. I also shot the wall and the pillar behind me, and there's no reflection of that in this mirror either. I decided to do the same test with the mirror beside me, and as you can see there are bullet holes in this one, and I think the reason for that is because the mirror in the bathroom that I was using before is the menu for changing your clothes, so I think it reacts differently to the other mirrors for that reason. So in regards to quality and presentation, it's really hard to decide this one, because while it does have the attention to detail that really took me by surprise of changing Frank's facial expression, there are some mirrors where it just doesn't have Frank, so it's very hard to grade this one. I'm gonna have to give it a 2 just from the complete absence of Frank sometimes. For particle accuracy, I'll give a 4 out of 5, because while it did show the explosion from the pummel blast, the spray from the household cleaner, and the fire from the fire grenades, I will have to take it down a point because sometimes it didn't show in the reflection because it was too far away, so that goes down a point. And finally, for the bullet test, it was quite hard to find a rating for this one because it was so inconsistent. However, I have landed on a 2 out of 5. While the bullet holes did show up in the mirror above the sink, it didn't show in the mirror that I was mainly using, but I think the reason for that is because it was the changing clothes menu mirror, so I think that's the reason it didn't react the same way to the other mirrors that I was using, but again, it is a mirror, it needs to act like a mirror, and I've always said that. So that concludes our video comparing the mirrors in the Dead Rising games I could get my hands on. Do you agree with my rankings? Let me know what your thoughts were of this video, I'd love to hear your feedback, and I had a lot of fun making this video. It was a bit of a strange topic, but I think it got really interesting the more I delved into it. And I want to give a huge thank you to Stippo for sending me the footage that he did for the Dead Rising ROM release or 0.70 beta. The footage that he got was just absolutely amazing, and I can't thank him enough. It was a really interesting look to see what the mirror was originally before the game's final release. And if you haven't already, please check out his channel in the description below, but he goes really in depth into the making of Dead Rising and all of the beta builds and all of that, so definitely check that out. It is very interesting how these games got made. So once again, thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please click the like button, and if you enjoyed this video, I will see you all in the next video. See yas.